The Ireland that we dreamed of would be the home of a people who valued material wealth only as a basis for right living. By holding up the vision of such an Ireland before the people, inspired them and moved them spiritually, the founders of the Gaelic League similarly inspired and moved the people of their day. So later did the leaders of the Irish Volunteers.
In 1919, the Irish Republic, proclaimed during the Easter Rising, was formally established by Old IRA, which recognized the Irish Volunteers as its official army. The IRA then launched a guerrilla war against British rule in the Irish War of Independence.
For who do you speak?
The people of Ireland. The Irish Republican Army.
The Irish Volunteers, established in 1913, staged the Easter Rising in 1916 to end the British rule in Ireland. Following the suppression of the Rising, many volunteers were imprisoned, leading to the organization's temporary dissolution. It was reorganized in 1917 after the release of the prisoners. At an army convention in Dublin in October 1917, Eamon de Valera was elected president, Michael Collins became the director for organization, and Cathal Brugha was appointed chairman of the resident executive, effectively making him chief of staff. Following Sinn Féin's victory in the 1918 general election and the creation of the first Dáil, the Volunteers began military actions against the Royal Irish Constabulary and later the British Army. This started with the Solohead Big ambush by members of the 3rd Tipperary Brigade, led by Seamus Robinson, Sean Tracy, Dan Breen, and Sean Hogan, who seized a quantity of jelly explosive and killed 2 RIC constables. The Dáil leadership was concerned that the Volunteers might not accept its authority, as they were bound by their own constitution to obey their executive. In August 1919, Brugha proposed that the Volunteers swear allegiance to the Dáil, but it took until August 1920 for this oath of allegiance to the Irish Republic and its government to be formally adopted. By late 1919, the term Irish Republican Army began replacing volunteers in common usage, as the Volunteers, having accepted the Dáil's authority, were now known as the Army of the Irish Republic. A power struggle emerged between Brugha and Collins, both cabinet ministers, over who wielded greater influence. While Brugha was the nominal superior as Minister for Defense, Collins's power base stemmed from his role as Director of Organization of the IRA and his membership in the Supreme Council of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. De Valera resented Collins's influence, viewing it as derived more from the secretive IRB than from his official positions. Brugha and De Valera urged the IRA to undertake larger, more conventional military actions for propaganda purposes, but Collins and Mulcahy ignored these suggestions. At one point, Brugha even proposed assassinating the entire British cabinet, but this was dismissed due to its likely negative impact on British public opinion. Many members of the Dáil, including Arthur Griffith, disapproved of IRA violence, preferring passive resistance to British rule. The Dáil only accepted responsibility for IRA actions in April 1921, just 3 months before the end of the Irish War of Independence. In practice, Collins commanded the IRA, with Richard Mulcahy as his second-in-command. They issued orders and directives to IRA guerrilla units across the country and sometimes sent arms and organizers to specific areas. However, due to the localized and irregular nature of the war, their control over local IRA commanders, such as Tom Barry, Liam Lynch in Cork, and Sean McCain in Longford, was limited. The IRA claimed a total strength of 70,000, but only about 3,000 actively fought against the Crown. They distrusted Irishmen who had served in the British Army during World War I as potential informers, with some exceptions like Emmett Dalton and Martin Doyle. The IRA organized its members into 3 groups: unreliable, reliable, and active. The unreliable members were nominally part of the IRA but did little for the struggle. Reliable members played supportive roles and occasionally fought, while active members were engaged in full-time fighting. Only about 1 to 2/3 of the IRA brigades were considered reliable, and even fewer were active. The active members were often young, single men from skilled trades or white-collar professions, while farmers and fishermen actually barely participated when compared to the overall group makeup. It's accepted that this was due to most active and reliable members being urban dwellers, where rural members tended to be unreliable or unaffiliated due to the British government's tactic of demolishing IRA homes and hideouts or killing them outright. Single urban men who were Catholic and who could relocate without a second thought were the primary recruits. Women participated in the Republican movement, but few fought with the IRA, which was almost entirely male. Although the IRA was not officially sectarian, its membership was predominantly Catholic and virtually no Protestants among the active members. Historian Peter Hart noted that only 3 Protestants served as active IRA men between 1919 and 1921. Their campaign from 1919 to 1921 can be divided into 3 phases. The reorganization of Irish volunteers into a guerrilla army with sporadic attacks. Notable was the creation of Collins's Squad, an assassination unit targeting police involved in intelligence work. By the end of 1919, several RIC men and Dublin Metropolitan Police had been killed, leading the RIC to abandon many rural barracks. In January to July of 1920, there is a marked increase in attacks on fortified police barracks in towns. By mid-1920, 16 barracks were destroyed and 29 badly damaged. The conflict escalated with the British declaration of martial law, internment, and executions of IRA men. The British also deployed the Black and Tans and the Auxiliary Division, intensifying the conflict. The IRA shifted to ambush tactics and formed flying columns, permanent guerrilla units, typically based in remote areas. From August 1920 to July 1921, the IRA faced a significantly expanded British force and focused on ambush tactics. The most notable violence occurred on Bloody Sunday in November 1920, when Collins's squad killed 14 British spies, and British forces retaliated by killing 14 civilians at a football match in Croke Park. The war's major actions were primarily in Dublin and Munster. In Munster, Tom Barry's column successfully ambushed British troops multiple times, including the notable Crossbarry ambush. In Dublin, the IRA's active service unit aimed for at least 3 attacks on British troops daily. Outside these areas, significant activity was less common, with isolated instances in places like County Longford and County Mayo. In Belfast, the war had a distinct character due to its Protestant and Unionist majority, leading to reprisals against the Catholic population and retaliatory IRA arson campaigns against factories and commercial premises. Violence in Belfast continued until October 1922, resulting in 400 to 500 deaths. In April 1921, the IRA reorganized into a more structured army with regional divisions, but the localized nature of guerrilla warfare remained. In May 1921, the IRA attacked and burned the Custom House in Dublin, a significant setback with 5 members killed and 80 captured. By July 1921, the IRA faced severe pressure from increased British troop deployments and a chronic shortage of arms and ammunition. They had about 3,000 rifles, many captured from the British, along with shotguns and pistols. An attempt to buy arms from Italy failed, and a few Thompson submachine guns from the US arrived before the truce.
A few thousand of these, and we'd blaze a path to Buckingham Palace.
Collins assessed the IRA as close to collapse by mid-1921, with few weapons left and many members killed or interned. Social upheaval accompanied the war with frequent strikes and class conflict. The IRA often acted to maintain social control and stability, occasionally breaking strikes to preserve unity in the national struggle. Historians' assessments of the IRA campaign vary. They were never able to engage in conventional warfare, but their guerrilla tactics imposed significant political, military, and financial costs, leading to negotiations. Historian Michael Hopkinson describes the guerrilla warfare as often courageous and effective, while David Fitzpatrick notes the remarkable survival of the vastly outnumbered Irish volunteers. The Old IRA's effectiveness in the Irish War of Independence can be attributed to 3 main factors: their innovative guerrilla tactics, their organizational structure and leadership, and their ability to adapt and respond to British countermeasures. The IRA's use of guerrilla warfare was crucial in their fight against the British forces. Traditional military engagements were not feasible for the IRA due to their limited resources and manpower compared to the well-equipped British Army. Guerrilla tactics such as ambushes, hit-and-run tactics, and targeted assassinations allowed the IRA to maximize their impact while minimizing their exposure to enemy retaliation. The IRA's flying columns, small and mobile units, were particularly effective in rural areas where they could use the terrain to their advantage. And the formation of Michael Collins's squad was instrumental in eliminating key intelligence officers and informants. This disrupted British intelligence operations and created an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty among the British ranks. The IRA's organizational structure and the leadership of key figures like Michael Collins played a significant role in their effectiveness. The IRA was restructured into a more coherent and efficient force capable of executing coordinated attacks across Ireland. The IRA's structure allowed for a high degree of autonomy among local units, enabling them to operate independently while still adhering to the broader strategic goals set by the central leadership. This decentralization meant that even if one unit was compromised, others could continue the fight. Leaders like Michael Collins brought innovative strategies and a ruthless efficiency to the IRA's operations. Collins's intelligence network was unparalleled, providing crucial information that allowed the IRA to stay one step ahead of the British forces. His ability to inspire and mobilize the IRA fighters was a key element of their success. The IRA's ability to adapt to changing circumstances and their resilience in the face of adversity were essential to their effectiveness. The British response to the IRA's tactics included increased troop deployments, the use of the Black and Tans, and the declaration of martial law. Despite these challenges, the IRA managed to maintain their campaign. When the British fortified police barracks and increased patrols, the IRA shifted their focus to ambushes and attacks on isolated patrols. This adaptability kept the British forces off balance and prevented them from establishing control. The IRA's ability to maintain the support of the local population was crucial. They portrayed themselves as defenders of the Irish people against British oppression, which helped them secure vital resources and intelligence from sympathetic civilians. Despite the harsh reprisals from British forces, the IRA's commitment to their cause helped sustain their efforts until the truce in July 1921. The Old IRA's effectiveness stemmed from their innovative guerrilla tactics, strong organizational structure and leadership, and their ability to adapt and remain resilient under pressure. These factors combined to create a formidable force that was able to challenge and ultimately force the British government to negotiate for peace. What happened the next 100 years is a separate story. Until the next video, be good, stay safe, and have a good one.